all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Dailies Dash today to get your delicious Duval sub. Dailies is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Attention men and women, if you would like to get your hair back, then you need to listen to some of our clients. John in Orange Park.
IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Call IHRS now at 904-777-IHRS. Find out how to grow your hair back with a free hair and scalp examination. Diane from Ponte Vedra.
Now I have what lotions couldn't give me. Thick, beautiful hair.
Hurry and receive a free hair and scalp examination and get 2 weeks of laser treatments for free. Call IHRS at 904-777-4477. Hairforme.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Aaron Williams. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. A Thursday that finds us, well, first round of the players out at Sawgrass. Quite the leaderboard. A lot of guys within a shot of the lead, tied for the lead. It's going to be a really interesting Friday tomorrow. Heading into the weekend, we'll certainly talk about that. We got conference tournament play. Florida State right now giving Duke all they want in the ACC quarterfinal. In fact, I believe Florida State is actually winning that game by a point at halftime against the Duke Blue Devils. We'll keep you updated there. We know Florida tomorrow, 1 o'clock, a game you'll hear on 1010XL. We'll have round 3 with Kentucky. Kentucky beat LSU yesterday. They beat Missouri today. Crazy to think that the Kentucky Wildcats have played 80 minutes of basketball in the last 30 hours, and they're going to play Florida at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Florida with the double bye. Boy, if Kentucky were able to pull that off, what a story that would be after already playing 2 games. But give Kentucky credit. They've had close wins, too. They beat LSU by 5 yesterday. They beat Missouri by 6 today. And it will be round 3, Kentucky and Florida tomorrow in the SEC quarterfinals in Nashville. Tip-off for that game is 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. And again, you'll hear it right here on 1010XL. And then we'll obviously get into the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguar general manager James Gladstone met the media earlier today. I thought he had a lot of really interesting things to say. How involved were they with Max Crosby? What about all these Brian Thomas Jr. rumors, the different philosophy between free agency this year compared to free agency last year? And what about the 2027 draft? Yeah, I said 2027. James Gladstone made a point to say we're trying to get as many draft picks as we can for 2027, which draft analysts will tell you next year's draft that'll take place in Washington, D.C. has far more talent than perhaps this year's draft does, which takes place next month in Pittsburgh. So as we said, we are absolutely loaded. We got a lot to do. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. Let's talk about the newest Jacksonville Jaguar. Chris Rodriguez, the running back from the Washington Commanders, was signed by Jacksonville about 24 hours ago. My guy up in Washington is Scott Jackson, 94.1 FM in Virginia Beach. He's also a big part of the Commanders radio network. We will talk to Scott about the newest Jaguar, Chris Rodriguez. That conversation comes up in about 10 to 15 minutes or so. Also, Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News. The man has covered college basketball for a long time. It's his time of year. We'll talk Florida. We'll talk SEC. We'll talk a little bracketology leading in to Selection Sunday with Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News. That comes up towards the top of the 9 o'clock hour. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us on a Thursday here on Hacker After Dark. Every night on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night, and Aaron Williams. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal? No, because it is a big deal.
on Hacker After Dark.
All right, want to get to James Gladstone's thoughts. The Jaguar general manager met the media earlier today. I will tell you, though, right now, looks like first-round action at the players has come to a stop. Almost everybody was able to finish. There's literally a handful of guys, I believe, that will have to play one hole tomorrow, it looks like. Including that is Austin Smotherman, who's actually tied for the lead. But right now, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got a 5-way tie for first place. 5 under 67s posted by a lot of guys. Maverick McNeely, Lee Hodges, Austin Smotherman among them. Just behind them, you got Justin Thomas at 4 under, Russell Henley at 4 under, Tony Finau is 2 shots back at 3 under. So certainly a lot of guys in the mix. Ricky Fowler, a former Players Champion, is at 2 under. Some unfortunate news that happened early this morning is Colin Morikawa. He withdrew like on the second or third hole of play. He was teeing off, and you could just see it. When he teed off, he went right to the lower back. There was something that happened in the lower back, and he had to withdraw. He was out of the tournament at like 9 a.m. this morning, which is really unfortunate for one of the best players in the world to have to withdraw that quickly. So we'll keep you updated. We'll go over the leaderboard again later on here on Hacker After Dark. But after one round of play, almost completed, again, a couple of guys might have to finish a hole or two in the morning. You got a 5-way tie atop the leaderboard with 5 under rounds of 67. To the Jacksonville Jaguars, General Manager James Gladstone met the media earlier today. I like the fact that he did meet the media because there's a lot of narratives out there. And to James Gladstone's credit, and Gladstone's always been, at least in the year plus that he's been here in Jacksonville as the GM, I think James Gladstone always is very transparent. He always tells you what he thinks. He answers a lot of questions. And quite frankly, I think he gives you good answers. There are some questions that some GMs might try to finagle their way out of and say a lot of stuff without actually answering them. I think Gladstone does a reasonably good job in answering some of the tough questions, and we'll get to those in a moment. But James Gladstone did meet the media earlier today, and obviously the difference in free agency this year between free agency last year. I mean, you think about last year, on the opening day of free agency, it was Robert Hainsey and Patrick McCarry and De'Ami Brown and Eric Murray and Jordan Lewis. I mean, go on down the line. They signed a ton of guys last year in free agency. This year, 3 days in, or I guess 4 days in now, they've signed one, and that's Chris Rodriguez, the running back from Washington. Clear difference between last year's free agency outlook and this year's free agency outlook. And James Gladstone was asked earlier today why that is the case here in Jacksonville.
Quite a bit different than, a year ago today, right? We came out the gates, what you might call as hot, signing double-digit free agents, external free agents right off the bat a year ago. And, the whole approach to that cycle was raise the floor of the football team, and that was a part of it. We're at a stage now where a higher volume of draft capital is what we're hunting up, and those compensatory picks. When you think about high-priced free agents of ours ended up signing elsewhere, well-deserved contracts. I mean, a lot of guys that have already announced his signing, I mean, they did their part to put themselves in really sound positions to earn that, and excited for all those guys.
There you go, the thoughts of James Gladstone. Yeah, look, I mean, they've lost 4 guys to this point. Devin Lloyd, Travis Etienne, Dewey Wingard, Greg Newsome. Of those 4, the Jaguars are getting compensatory picks for 3 of them in the 2027 draft. Projected a 4th-round compensatory pick for Travis Etienne, a projected 5th-round compensatory pick for Devin Lloyd, and a projected 6th-round compensatory pick for Greg Newsome. So what does that mean in layman's terms? Well, the Jaguars have 21 draft picks over the next 2 drafts. They have 11 this year. They already have 10 draft picks for next year. And draft analysts will tell you the 2027 draft could potentially be loaded with talent. And James Gladstone was asked about the 2027 draft capital that they've already obtained because they've lost some free agents already this offseason.
In return, by not signing any outside free agents, we recoup 2027 draft capital. And I think on its surface, you would think, oh, okay, you're going to make picks in 2027. Whereas in reality, those draft picks and having more of them actually allows you the luxury of remaining in the hunt at different intervals throughout the entire calendar year for acquiring players. You think about training camp a year ago and using a day 3 pick to acquire a wide receiver in Tim Patrick. You think about ahead of the trade deadline and being able to use 2 picks on day 3 to acquire a wide receiver in Jacoby Myers. Without that draft capital at your disposal, you may not be as willing or able to relinquish some of those future picks. So by building that up, now it allows us the luxury of remaining sort of with the flexibility to do those sorts of things as we move into the next stages of the offseason and into the regular season.
And that really is a good point. And he mentioned this as well there. You know, you think back last year, they spent a 6th round pick to get Tim Patrick during training camp. I mean, think about obviously at the trade deadline, 4th round pick and a 6th round pick to the Raiders for Jacoby Myers, which was a grand slam of a trade acquisition. So they want to accumulate as many picks as possible to maybe use them. I mean, that's certainly plausible that they're going to use all of them. Or James Gladstone has proven very quickly after 1 year as a general manager that he will use draft picks to acquire talent at any point of the year, including training camp, including the preseason, or including at the trade deadline, which he did a lot of last season. Finally, Chris Rodriguez is the one guy they've gone out and gotten from Washington. 500 yards receiving last year. Rushing last year. What I like is he also found the end zone 6 times. So between he and Bashal Tutin, you're talking 13 touchdowns. Tutin found pay dirt 7 times. Rodriguez in Washington found pay dirt 6 times. I do like that. I like that a lot. And James Gladstone was asked about the only free agent to this point they've brought in, and that's running back Chris Rodriguez.
Chris Rodriguez is, in fact, somebody that if you watch the tape, you understand very quickly exactly who he is as a football player, the superpowers that he taps into consistently. And, if you draw back to his time at Kentucky, it's remained a constant. He's very physical at the point of attack. He has a really good pace in his approach to the line of scrimmage and finding the lanes. Obviously, an intimate understanding of the system and how Liam likes to call things. So there's a lot of strong matches just generally from how, those two in tandem can really work together. And then also our interest in continue to find ways to level up our capacity in the run game to, make it a really balanced attack, being able to attack the perimeter and also the inside.
I just did my Awaken 180 number of the week for the 1010XL social media platform, so I'll give you guys a sneak peek into that. And Aaron, I'll ask you, I'm not expecting you to know this. It's a trivia question. Travis Etienne last year, if you combine rushing yardage and receiving yardage, how many all-purpose yards do you think Etienne had here in Jacksonville in 2025?
I'd say somewhere in the 1050 range.
He had 1,100 yards rushing, but he also had almost 300 yards receiving, so he was close to 1,400, which is a heck of a year for Travis Etienne. If you combine Chris Rodriguez's numbers in Washington with Bashal Tutin and LaQuint Allen, all three combined, what do you think their total yardage from scrimmage was in 2025?
I'd say less than 1,100.
Okay, how much less?
I'll say 850.
All right. Not bad. The 1,100 was really close. So if you combine Rodriguez, Tutin, and Allen, it's 1,064 combined yards from scrimmage.
Okay.
Rodriguez was 530 of that. Tutin was 379 of that. And I think LaQuint Allen came in at like 148. So it was 1,064. And the point in all that is, Travis Etienne had 1,400 yards. The 3 running backs currently on the Jaguar roster, I did not count DJ Dallas. So if you count DJ Dallas, it probably does go over 1,100 because I know he caught the ball and ran it a couple of times towards the end of the year. But the top 3, 1,064. But you think about how many more opportunities Etienne got than Rodriguez, Tootin, and Allen. I mean, Rodriguez only carried the ball 112 times in a 17-game season. He averaged 4.5 yards per carry in Washington. They just didn't use him. Tootin obviously missed a couple of games due to injury. He did not carry the ball a ton. He also did not receive the ball out of the backfield a ton because Etienne got a bulk of that. And LaQuinn Allen Jr., I would like to see more carries for him. He only ended up with 94 yards rushing the entire year because, again, he just didn't get an opportunity. Now, losing Etienne, that's a gut punch. I mean, you lose 1,400 yards of production from scrimmage last year. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. That's a gut punch. But I am intrigued with what Chris Rodriguez can do with 500 yards rushing coming in from Washington and what Bashal Tootin can do. And if you lump in LaQuinn Allen, that's a nice combination there, I think. And you have to make up for 700 yards because if you count Etienne and you count Tootin, their all-purpose yardage from the tailback position for the 2 primary guys was roughly 1,700 yards for the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. Rodriguez, Tootin, and Allen last year was just under 1,100. So can you get 600 more yards with more opportunities for the 3 trio guys now in the backfield here in Jacksonville? We shall see. That is certainly the hope. We know a little bit about Bashal Tootin. We know a little bit about LaQuinn Allen Jr. We're learning about Chris Rodriguez. So I thought, well, let's learn more. My guy up in Washington when it comes to the Commanders is Scott Jackson. Long-time sports radio fans here in Jacksonville will remember Scott Jackson from his days on the ball back in the early to mid to late 90s and early 2000s. We'll talk to Scott Jackson, who's on the Commanders radio network, about Chris Rodriguez. What type of running back are the Jaguars getting in Chris Rodriguez? And maybe more importantly, why did Washington let him go? He was a restricted free agent, young guy, averaging 4.5 yards per carry. He just didn't get a lot of opportunities up there. Why was that the case? Scott Jackson, Commander Radio Network, talking Chris Rodriguez with us next on a Thursday night here in Northeast Florida. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. It's Hacker After Dark.
It's golf's biggest stage this side of the majors, and 1010XL has you inside the ropes.
Get live Southeast Orthopedic Specialist leaderboard updates.
Teed up by Surfside Pools, San Jose Collision, and Lucas Tree Service.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Mortgage rates have dropped. They're expected to move lower. Home sales momentum is building. So now's the time to get your home ready to maximize your sales price. It's time to call Chad and Sandy, the proven experts to sell your home. Maybe you have concerns about putting your home on the market and getting it sold. Well, let me alleviate those for you. There's a real quick solution. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold or they will buy it. Call 414-6200. Or go to chadandsandy.com. You'll find out for yourself. Chad and Sandy, the local real estate experts I trust and recommend with the sale of your home or mine. Using their proprietary Market Max system, Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Anthony and Mary in Palmco said, we needed to sell our home to move closer to family, but low cash offers weren't cutting it. Since we'd only bought a year earlier, options felt limited, but not for Chad and Sandy. Call Chad and Sandy today, or log on to chadandsandy.com.
We went to probably 4 or 5 jewelry stores.
Jacksonville's Mitch Vandal went to the town center looking for an engagement ring, but found the big box corporate jewelry experience wasn't for him.
Nobody was really helping us. One of the stores, some people walked in behind us and they were offered beer and champagne, and I'm wearing shorts and a cutoff, so I don't really look the part. So I was like, well, I guess we'll go somewhere else. I don't know if they think we can afford to shop here or what.
So he went across and discovered locally owned Beards Diamonds.
When I walked in, everybody just said, hey, welcome in, welcome to Beards.
Mitch loved the service and attention he got at Beards and ended up with a bigger, better quality diamond.
It was about twice the size of what I thought I could afford, and it was also about twice the size of what my wife thought she wanted.
Today, Mitch tells all his friends, shop local, shop Beards.
You're going to get the best deal on the best diamond.
Unbeatable value, unmatched selection, uncompromising personal service.
Anybody that I know, I want them to shop at Beards.
Beards Diamonds, St. John's Town Center.
Are high-interest credit cards and other loans sucking the life out of your finances? It's time to say no more. Let Loan Pronto tap the equity on your home and get the cash you need now so you can pay it all off. Hey, it's Prosser here. Corey and Jack called Loan Pronto in a matter of days. They had $160,000. They kept their 3% mortgage intact, didn't even need an appraisal, and with all that cash, they wiped out all their credit cards and 2 car loans, saving $2,000 a month. You can do it too. LoanPronto.com. Their rapid equity loan program can get you $100,000, $200,000, even $500,000 in cash. Chloe and Ethan just did it. Consolidated all their high-interest debt into one super low monthly payment, giving them an extra $1,000 a month. Imagine. Pay off all the credit cards, slash your monthly payments, breathe easier. Get your life back. Interest rates are at 3-year lows. Call Loan Pronto today, 904-999-1500. That's 904-999-1500. Or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars signed running back Chris Rodriguez yesterday from the Washington Commanders. It's actually the second year in a row the Jaguars have gone to Washington to bring in a free agent. It didn't work out all that well with De'Ami Brown last year. Will it work out better with Chris Rodriguez? Well, our guy when it comes to the Commanders is Scott Jackson, 94.1 in Virginia Beach. He's also a part of Commanders Radio, and Scott's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Scott, how you doing, man?
Great, Ryan. Always good to be on in J-Ville.
Hey, Scott, appreciate the time as always. All right, Chris Rodriguez, give us the info on him. 500 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns last year. That's nothing to sneeze at. What are the Jaguars getting with Chris Rodriguez?
A really tough runner between the tackles, a guy who does not go down on first contact. Hungry runner, I would say, underused. You get him for fresh legs, I would say. Very frustrating last year watching this Commanders team when it was apparent early in the season that this this defense, was going to be a sieve. And Cliff Kingsbury, had to make it complicated instead of just, manning up and just slamming the ball in there. And Rodriguez is the guy to do that. Bill Krosky-Merritt obviously had a really good season as a rookie, but he was up and down in early season, and it really felt like they were wasting Rodriguez at times. As the year went on, when Dan Quinn clearly put his foot down a little bit, especially when they knew that Jaden Daniels wasn't coming back. I think they got a little bit more serious about it. You saw Rodriguez's worth, and it's interesting here just to kind of wait and see what they have in mind, because they only have one running back under contract right now, Bill Krosky-Merritt. Of course, the fan base is, like, oh, they're going to get Jeremiah Love, but there's no guarantee sitting at 7 if that's going to fall into place or not. But anyway, I think you're getting a guy who, again, really good runner between the tackles, not going to go down. Maybe not great in the passing game, and maybe underutilized there, but I think even if you go back to the time he was with your head coach at Kentucky, they didn't really throw Chris Rodriguez the football. But I think he's a steady guy, and he's a strong guy. And I think he's a good red zone runner too. Yeah, I was going to ask you about his stats. Again, you're much closer to it than we are. 4.5 yards a carry. Yet he only carried the ball 112 times, I believe. I guess that speaks to underutilization up there, like you were saying. Yeah, I mean, Kingsbury just, it's interesting because, a year ago he was the flavor of the year, And then this past season, as things, he lost people. I mean, there was a lot. He wasn't even anywhere close to having a full unit from the jump because the McLaurin hold in that took forever and, really got him out of, he wasn't in shape. And then he got hurt early. Never really got to see him and Debo full speed together, how that would have looked. And obviously the quarterback injuries were the biggest part with Jaden being in and out of the lineup and then finally just done for the year when they decided to sit him down. So, there were so many games. I mean, the one that jumps out to all the fans here is the Minnesota game. They do a great job in their opening drive, moving the football right down to the field, the 2-yard line. And, Cliff decides to throw it 3 consecutive times in Jaden's first game back from injury. And it was just ridiculous. And they have stalling out and getting no points after Rodriguez just running through, this Viking defense. And there was just a lot of occasions like that were just really frustrating to watch. For the Commanders fans this year, but people liked Rodriguez a lot. For whatever reason, this coaching staff didn't like him as much as the fans did in terms of usage. But I think you're getting a good player there, and I'm excited to see what he could do there. And I'm not saying he's going to be your lead back either, but I think a part of a committee he can be really good for you.
Scott Jackson, 94.1 in Virginia Beach. He's also a part of Commanders Radio, and he's with us here on 1010XL as the Jaguars go sign Washington Commander running back Chris Rodriguez. You talk about Chris Rodriguez as far as the 112 carries, 600 yards. He had a knack for finding the end zone, Scott. 6 touchdowns last year. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. That's why it's frustrating when they did have these opportunities. There was a couple games where they would get in the red zone and stall out, like really deep red zone. I'm talking like inside the 5-yard line. You're like, why didn't you give Rodriguez a few cracks at it, right? And he was good when he got in there. Again, hungry runner, just a teammate, like a great teammate, always ready, didn't complain, wasn't a guy, politicking to get on the field with anybody in the media or anything like that. And I think it's cool too. Now he gets to go with an offensive coordinator and a head coach that worked with him in college and obviously has a lot of belief in him. And I think it's a really good opportunity for him. Like I said, he's an excellent red zone runner. He's not going down on first contact most times. He's a guy that will run through you and runs like it basically his job depended on it, frankly.
He was a restricted free agent that wasn't tenured. Was there surprise among the fan base they did not want to bring him back?
Well, with the coordinator change with David Blau, if you see like the way we think he's going to call offense, right? We think he's going to have more under center. We think it's going to be more like the Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears style because he played under, obviously, Ben Johnson. And just looking at some of his other influences, including Kevin O'Connell, a little bit in one regard that, he could have been the David Montgomery, right? He could have been the hammer, the knuckles, if you will, to Krosky Merritt, Sonic, to use the term that they had out there in Detroit. But I also think Blau's going to, put the backs in position to catch the football a little bit more, which is not C-Rod's strength. And again, until you see what the next move is, it's hard to really say if it was the right one or the wrong one. I think a lot of us here wonder if Rachaad White makes a lot of sense just because of his pass catching ability. Obviously, he and Jaden Daniels were teammates at Arizona State too, and they've been friends for a while. So that's an interesting option here. And of course, the Jeremiah Love dream. But I just don't know. I mean, you're talking about 7. That's a lot of real estate in front of you. Titans could certainly use some explosion on offense. There's other couple candidates up there too that could probably use Jeremiah Love, even though I know that we're devaluing running backs these days. But Jeremiah Love to me appears to be, that Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey kind of level potentially where, he can be an every down back and you can split him out wide and he can run routes and, obviously just change kind of the dynamics of your offense.
Scott, as we begin to wrap up, you mentioned this earlier. It was a committee approach at running back up there in Washington. You mentioned Rodriguez did not, bellyache, complain publicly. It's going to be similar down here with Bashal Tuitt and LaQuint Allen Jr. Now, they're paying Rodriguez pretty handsomely, right? 2 years, $12 million. That's a similar deal to Rico Dowdle and Tyler Algier. So certainly Rodriguez will be in the fold. But him splitting carries with Tuitt and LaQuint Allen, you don't think that'll be an issue?
No, because I think he was really good at it. Like he'd come in there and, he might not get into like the 3rd or 4th series and he was ready to roll. You know what I mean? He was that kind of guy that he was always ready no matter what turn he got, in the rotation, if it was a couple series or just one series until he was back on the field. I think that's the beauty of him because not all guys are like that, as you know. I mean, some guys really need the volume before they can get a feel for the game. C-Rod was just ready all the time. So I think that's what you got to love. And I'm sure that's why Liam Cohen was excited to bring in, again, a guy he worked with pretty tightly in college, and that in his best season, by the way, of his career was when Liam Cohen was the OC in Kentucky. So I think that's a big plus for the Jags getting him. And I was a big Basil Tootin fan coming out of Virginia Tech, so I'm excited to see what he can do with a bigger role next year too.
Final moment, Scott Jackson, 94.1 in Virginia Beach. He's also a part of Commanders Radio. Scott, I want to ask you big picture Commanders in one moment. Final Chris Rodriguez question. There's a certain guy that the Jaguars are bringing in here, a certain character of guy. They've made a big deal out of that with James Gladstone and Liam Cohen. As far as the guy, Chris Rodriguez, what kind of guy will he be in the locker room?
Yeah, like I said, you're not going to have any problems with Chris Rodriguez. He's not going to be anybody's issue. I know at college, we might have dinged him a little bit. He had a DUI, I guess, at Kentucky. But since then, I don't think you've had anything. And again, your head coach knows him. He was in the college locker room when he was a younger person. So it's probably got a really good feel for it. But no, I don't think this was a situation where they're like, yeah, we don't like the person. You know what I mean? And I just think it was more of a fit in what they think they can do with the position and where the money can go. And obviously they're spending a ton of money here on defense right now because that defense was atrocious and needs a lot of help.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. The Commanders look obviously a disappointing season in 2025. That's probably an understatement, but they are spending some dollars in free agency. Leo Chenal among those. We were talking a lot about Chenal here potentially with Devin Lloyd being gone, but what is the thought about what Washington has done here in the last couple of days?
Well, it's been exciting. The Washington fans are just so impatient and just excitable. I mean, in the first hour of the tampering day, I had people tweeting me and, it's doom and gloom. We're going to suck again. This team's so stupid. Adam Peters should be fired. And it's really smart stuff. And, you have to remind people, free agency isn't just the first hour of the tampering period. It's a long process. And obviously they've gotten younger. They've gotten faster on defense, the things that they needed to do. They've got some guys that have things to prove too, potentially, and Jason as well, who you guys are obviously familiar with, who was in New England last year. But they did. I think they did some good work. They hit every need right now, and they need to keep going at it. And I think Chenal's very exciting what he could do. And a lot of us are still here trying to figure out what this means for Bobby Wagner if he's done here. If they're going to try to go younger at that position, and maybe or keep the veteran here with some of these young guys, which might be good for his career too if he's willing to do it. But yeah, it's been interesting to watch. I mean, I think there's still some positions in need. There's still a need for receiver. You mentioned De'Ami Brown. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't mind seeing De'Ami Brown come back here on obviously a more favorable contract than what Jacksonville signed him to last year, because I do think he helps. He can open some things up in the passing game, and obviously him and Jaden were playing really well together that playoff, which got him that money prior to him hitting free agency. So I think that's an interesting option. Obviously, people are excited about Chig coming here, the big Titans tight end who you guys see twice a year, who I feel like has really been wasted in Tennessee without any real quarterback play. So that's a really exciting move. So we'll see if they can stack some more of these deals. And as I mentioned, there's a need for running back, there's a need for another receiver, and you can always use. They still really. I don't know if they have the center position solved yet either. After they let Tyler Biadasz go, releasing him, and then looks like Nick Algretti for the time being is going to be the placeholder there until at least they draft somebody or bring somebody in free agency wise.
Yeah, De'Ami Brown, that was a weird one last year because he had a good training camp, and truthfully, he was pretty good in the first couple of games in the regular season. He just fell off a cliff towards the middle of the year, and then he never got used towards the end. Scott, final question. All the times I've had you on over the years, I don't think I've ever asked you a Washington Wizards question, but I'm curious.
Oh, boy.
They allow Bam Adebayo 83 points, which was interesting. But they also acquired Trae Young and Anthony Davis. Now, both guys are hurt, not playing very much this year. But if those guys get healthy come next year, I mean, the Wizards, that could be fun, right?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm okay with them doing what they're doing, right? The kind of the Oklahoma City approach and what everybody else has done tanking. I don't know if Anthony Davis is going to be invested to play here. I know he said all the right things so far. We'll see if he's actually on the team next year. He's not going to play until next season. I just don't know how that's going to work. And, Trae Young, look, he's got a lot of great numbers, and they can fool you sometimes if you don't watch him play. He's not much of a defender over the years. Kind of a volume guy, too, in stretches. So we'll see. The problem with the Wizards is these young players have been playing essentially summer league basketball for the last several years. I mean, these games have no meaning, Ryan. They're like There's no flow to them most of the times. When the guy's in a rhythm, they take him out to limit his minutes and to, make sure the team loses. I mean, there's just so many things that are so screwed up about this. I have no idea if Brian Keefe knows how to coach or has a strategy defensively, because it sure as hell doesn't look like it. I really don't know. They keep telling me Sarr and Davis will be good together, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to buy into it. There's nobody developing here of these young guys. There's some nice pieces, but nobody's developing here that screams superstar. And that's really the ultimate thing, right? What separated Oklahoma City in the end was SGA became a star, and then those other pieces started making sense. Nobody's coming around that way here. At least they haven't been given the opportunity to, because of the way they're jerking them in and out of the lineup. And then, this year's lottery is huge, because it looks like the lottery's going to have a lot of changes coming, 2027. So if they don't hit it right this season, I don't know. I mean, I think what you're looking at then is back to where they used to be, which is this Mids team that's like, hey, we've got the 5 seed, woohoo, or we're in the play-in series. I just don't see them being a top 4 team, even if everybody's healthy and everybody's whatever in the next step. But I don't know. Just based on experience with this team and this franchise. I mean, I covered them for 8 years after I left Jacksonville, and I've just seen all the different variations of what they've been trying to do over the last couple decades, and none of it's been good, frankly, and it's quite frustrating to watch. But the good news is we have a baseball team that is similarly as awful that's about to get started, and the Capitals are on their last legs with Alex Ovechkin. So it's great. It's a good time. That's why we're also jacked up and angry at the Commanders if they don't sign our favorite free agents right now.
Yeah, fun times there in the nation's capital, no doubt about it. Scott Jackson is our guy when it comes to the Commanders, 94.1 in Virginia Beach, and he's also a big part of Commanders Radio. Scott, thank you for the time, brother. We'll talk soon.
Awesome, Ryan. Thank you.
Live streaming from the XL Digital Studios. Brightened by Harbor Dental Care, Jacksonville's first choice for dental emergencies.
All right, Jacksonville, Florida summer doesn't ease in. It shows up angry. One day you're fine, the next day your AC is fighting for its life. If your unit barely survived last year, don't push your luck. Make the smart move now. Call Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. Honest pricing, no surprise markups. With the Beat the Heat early special, you can save $500 off a new AC system. Don't wait till it's 98 degrees and everyone's scrambling. Call for your free in-home estimate today. 904-862-6769 or duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the Duck.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey ham, melted cheddar and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Checkmate. I'm Brendan Cecilia, founder of Checkmate Coatings.
And I'm Chester, Checkmate's mascot and brand ambassador.
Why do you even talk in these ads?
People see me on the trucks, Brendan, so they expect to hear from me as well.
But I have over a decade's experience personally installing high-quality polymer floors right here in Jacksonville.
Well, I'm a professional mascot, riding around on the side of your trucks, smiling at passers-by.
Then could you at least tell people about our 2-stage polymer application process? Give your garage the finishing touch with a gorgeous floor that's guaranteed to last?
A bit busy posing for selfies, I'm afraid.
Years of experience?
Check. Adorable mascot?
Check. The team you need to make your garage gorgeous? Checkmate!
Transforming your floors, making them great. Checkmate.
Visit checkmatecoatings.com. That's checkmatecoatings.com.
Termite swarms are active right now in Jacksonville, and once they get inside, damage can happen fast. Termites don't knock, they silently attack the structure of your home, leaving behind costly repairs and long-term headaches. Protect what you've worked hard for with the proven protection homeowners trust. Terminix it, with advanced termite treatment and prevention solutions. Visit Terminix.com and schedule your free termite inspection today.
Get a healthy start in 2026. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to help you get healthy and stay healthy all year long. Our dedicated team is committed to providing high-quality care and trusted public health services for our community. Our mission is simple: to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Learn more about our programs and services by visiting duval.floridahealth.gov.
I'm from a small town, man. Our town's most famous Lee Harvey Oswald went to our middle school. True story. Basketball player Pistol Pete Maravich lived and died in our town, so 2 good shooters. From downtown, both of them.
From his Netflix special, Regular People, comedian Theo Vaughn's Return of the Rat Tour. 3 shows, Friday and Saturday, March 13th and 14th at Florida Theater. Get tickets now at theovaughn.com.
Make Capital Glass and Shower Doors your premier choice for top quality glass solutions. With over 40 years of expertise, their team specializes in commercial and residential projects. From elegant shower doors to modern frameless enclosures, they've got you covered. But that's not all. They also offer glass railing systems, glass wine cabinets, and much more. For unmatched quality and service, choose Capital Glass and Shower Doors. Your vision, their expertise. Visit online at capcoglass.com.
With 50 years of fabrication expertise in towing products, the family at Cannons of Jacksonville can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
What does your dream backyard look like? The team at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living can design an outdoor kitchen layout custom built to your taste and lifestyle. You dream it, they can build it. At CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living, CSSOutdoor.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock. 1010XL 92.5 FM. A big congratulations to the Bishop Kenny girls basketball program. A state championship for BK. It's the first local state title for a girls team in our area since 2017. You combine that, I'm getting this from our buddy Justin Barney at Channel 4. You combine BK's girls state title with the Providence boys bringing home a first title from a city team since 2016. So what a year for high school basketball in our area. And a big congratulations to Bishop Kenny, state champions, first girls team in Northeast Florida to bring home a state championship since 2017. We got basketball on the brain right now, right? College tournaments going on all over the place. We got Selection Sunday coming up this Sunday where the field of 68 will be set. In fact, we'll do a lot of this with Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News. Mike has been doing it for a long time. He's their resident bracketologist, one of my favorites to talk college ball with, and Mike DeCourcy is going to join us towards the top of the 9 o'clock hour. I will tell you, Florida State is in a battle right now with Duke in the quarterfinals of the ACC tournament. About 10 minutes to go in the ball game. Duke, the number 1 team in the country, leads Florida State 62-61. Florida State not long ago was up 8 points in this game. Duke has obviously come back and regained the lead by a point. You knew they would. They're a terrific basketball team. But Florida State, even though they're not going to the tournament unless they win the ACC, which obviously is very doubtful, I will say that they have improved a lot. This Luke Laux, their coach, their first-year coach, former player, I like what they've done. They had a big win over Cal yesterday in the ACC tournament to advance to this game tonight against Duke, and they are certainly holding their own with the number 1 team in the land. We'll keep you updated, but right now Duke up 3, 9:40 to go. Blue Devils lead the Seminoles 64-61. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern in Nashville. You'll hear it right here on 1010XL. The Florida Gators get their SEC tournament underway, and it'll be round 3 against the Kentucky Wildcats. Kentucky, give them credit. They had to play yesterday. They had a hard-fought victory over LSU. They had to come back today, play Missouri, another hard-fought victory. So the Kentucky Wildcats have played 80 minutes of basketball, a 5-point win over LSU yesterday, a 6-point win over Missouri today, And their reward for that is a game against Florida tomorrow at 1 o'clock. The Gators haven't played since last Saturday, where ironically enough, they beat Kentucky in Rupp Arena. So it will be round 3. And I get it. You know, look, we've talked about this. I talked about it with Patrick Young earlier this week. And in fact, Patrick and I will have the Gator Bites podcast tomorrow prior to tip-off on the 1010XL social media channels. We hope you join us for that to preview round 3 of Florida and Kentucky. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. And if you look at Kentucky, over this Gator winning streak of 11 games now, the 2 games against the Wildcats are the only games Florida has won by single digits. Think about that for a second. You've played Texas A&M and Arkansas and Alabama and Georgia and all of these teams that are going to be in the NCAA tournament, and you've beat every one of them by 10 or more points. The only 2 games of the 11-game winning streak for Florida that they're currently on that have been decided by single digits is the 2 Kentucky games. Florida beat Kentucky by 9 in Gainesville, beat them by 7 last week at Rupp Arena. But Aaron, you and I were talking, man, that's a tall order for Kentucky. They got momentum, but to think that those kids have played 80 minutes of basketball in the last 31 hours, basically, and now they got to come back at 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow and play a Florida Gator team that is as rested as you possibly can be. That's a tall order for the Wildcats.
It's a tough ask, but I mean, if you feel that you're, one of the best teams, there's the things that you got to do. Now, yes, it is very tough. You and I were talking.
And look, at the Florida's credit, they've earned that.
Yeah.
Florida, Vanderbilt, Alabama, Arkansas are the 4 teams to get the double buys. They don't have to play till Friday. They can be as rested as they can. And Florida, from their standpoint, we'll talk to Mike DeCourcy about this, they probably need to win tomorrow to cement themselves as a number 1. I know you're a UConn guy. If Florida loses tomorrow and UConn wins the Big East tournament, I think there's probably an argument at that point for UConn to get that last number 1 seed. If Florida beats Kentucky tomorrow, which would be their 12th quad 1 win, I'm not sure it matters what happens on Saturday or Sunday. I think Florida would have that number 1 seed cemented.
Yeah, in my opinion, as it stands right now, I believe Florida deserves the number 1. I don't think UConn has played to the standard that they should have down the stretch, and because of that, I mean, I do think UConn is going to win the Big East tournament. But even if that is so, if Florida takes care of their business, I think Florida should get that number 1 seed.
What is going to be fascinating, and we got to go quick here, is Miami of Ohio. And mark the time, or 8:48. Got to fix this clock. This clock is killing me. We haven't changed it yet. 8:48 Eastern Standard Time here on Thursday night, March the 12th in the city of Jacksonville. First time maybe in my history on 1010XL that I'm talking about Miami of Ohio basketball. I probably talked about him in the past when it came to like Ben Roethlisberger on the gridiron. Highly doubt I've talked about him on the hardwood. 31-0 coming into today. 31-0. They lose in the quarterfinals of their conference tournament to UMass. So they're now 31-1. You say, well, Hacker, why does that matter? Well, there are some people that will tell you that even at 31-1, Miami of Ohio does not deserve to get into the NCAA tournament. You know, we're all about quads, right? In the committee's eyes when it comes to wins. Everything's in quad 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. A quad 1 win, and I got to get the lingo down, but I believe it's anybody that you beat inside the top 50, or I believe it's anybody inside the top 75 that you beat on the road. So if you get a road victory over a top 75 team, that counts as a quad 1, or like neutral site or home court. If you beat somebody in the top 50, that counts as a quad 1. Miami of Ohio does not have a quad 1 win. Of their 31 wins, they have not beaten a team that qualifies as a quad 1. And as a matter of fact, of their 31 wins, only 2 of them qualify quad 2. And what does quad 2 mean? Well, Miami of Ohio beat Akron 76-73, which is their best win of the year. Akron was 53rd in the net at the time that Miami of Ohio beat them. 53rd. The second best win for Miami of Ohio was against Wright State, who was ranked 127th when Miami of Ohio beat them. What does all that mean? Translation? Miami of Ohio has 2 wins against teams that were ranked above 127 in America. Their other 29 wins came against teams not ranked in the top 127. Aaron, it's going to be fascinating. I think they're going to get in because there will be a lot of negative pushback to not allow a 31-1 team in. Their schedule is dog meat. It is awful. And if you let them in, this will tell all the mid-majors out there, you can schedule DuPont Middle School as your non-conference, and you'll get in just because you accumulate wins. It's not right. I don't like it. I wouldn't put them in if I was the committee. I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens.
Yeah, it sets a, bad precedent that looks there, to a lot of people. But I mean, a lot of people will say, heck, 31 wins. I mean, but it does matter who you play. And if they have a say in who they play in their non-conference and they don't schedule any of those top guys, a lot of people will look that, they don't deserve to get in compared to other teams.
Quickly, Miami of Ohio's wins. UNC Asheville, Bowling Green, Toledo, Kent State, Buffalo, Marshall, UMass, Eastern Michigan, and Ohio. And then they also beat Old Dominion, Air Force, something named Mercyhurst, and they beat them by 5. Arkansas, Pine Bluff, UNC, Greensboro, Western Michigan, Northern Illinois, Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, and Maine.
Have you ever heard of Mercyhurst?
I've never heard of Mercyhurst.
I don't know where that is. Never heard of that in my
But
life.
Miami of Ohio got a big 76-71 victory. Mercyhurst, by the way, ranked 276th in America when Miami of Ohio beat them. Look, Miami of Ohio, if you're an Auburn fan, if you're a Missouri fan, if you're an Indiana fan, maybe Texas, SMU, the loss today by Miami of Ohio is devastating for you. Because if they get in as an at-large. Somebody's going to win their conference tournament. That conference now is going to get 2 teams in. Thus, that's going to take away a bid from a team that is currently on the bubble.
I see what you're saying.
If you put Miami of Ohio in. So, really interesting to see what the committee does. Again, 31-1's good, right? I mean, I'm not breaking any news there. But when you play literally no one that's ranked inside the top 50, should you be rewarded for that? We'll see what the committee does on Sunday, Selection Sunday. More on that with Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News in about 15 minutes. Coming up next, back into the National Football League. A lot of news again today, including Kyler Murray. He didn't stay out of work long. He's got a brand new home, and he remains in the NFC. We'll talk about it next, right here on Hacker After Dark.
There's a reason why people love to listen to play-by-play on the radio.
This is unbelievable what we're witnessing. I'm serious.
1010XL, Jacksonville's home for play-by-play.
The price of gold is soaring, and the price of silver is near record highs. If you've got gold or silver just laying around, Estates Roadshow wants it. Broken chains, old rings, coins, watches, diamonds, vintage jewelry. If it's valuable, they're buying it. No appointment needed. Just walk in, get a free appraisal, and walk out with cash. They're also buying pre-1964 silver coins, flatware, sterling silverware stamped 925. They're buying coin collections, gold, silver, foreign, and domestic. Plus, they've been in business over 35 years with thousands of prior happy customers. Licensed, bonded, state-certified scales, highest tech equipment, employees with GIA certification. Begin gathering your valuables because the Estates Roadshow is coming back to the First Coast, March 16th through March 20th. St. Augustine at World Golf Renaissance and Palm Coast at the Holiday Inn Express. For more information, call Marshall at 609-781-6559 or go to estatesroadshow.com and follow Estates Roadshow on Facebook to see all upcoming events.
Be the first to discover the best new home community in beautiful Green Cove Springs. Highland Trail, where the rhythm of life slows down. Enjoy green spaces, luxury pools, pickleball courts, winding trails, and more at livehighlandtrail.com. Choose from 3 premium builders, just starting in the 300s.
Oh, at Highland Trail.
They give their best physically and mentally.
Listen for the Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Scholar Athlete of the Week, tuned up by
The Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234
Wednesday afternoons on The Frangie Show.
on 1010XL.
Shoot your shot on Prize Picks. Hicken here and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right, Prize Picks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. All kinds of great features on Prize Picks, too, like stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. So, like, hey, Steph Curry, points, 3-pointers, assists. Now you can pick them all in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. But remember, you got to download the Prize Picks app today. Use code 1010XL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, but you must put in code 1010XL and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. It's all on Prize Picks. Prize Picks, man. It's good to be right.
The Jacksonville Icemen are in town for 3 games this weekend, starting Friday for Teacher Appreciation, presented by Community First Credit Union. Then Saturday, it's Wizards Night. Wear your house colors and watch the Icemen do battle in special Wizard-themed jerseys. Then Sunday at 3, it's Publix Family Fun Day. Take a shot on goal on the ice after the game. Tickets at Ticketmaster, JacksonvilleIcemen.com, or call 904-602-PUCK. Icemen hockey is #Sub-Zero.
At G&H Tires and Service, the G stands for great pricing. The H, well, that means honest service. For over 20 years, Roger and his team have helped Jacksonville drivers stay safe on the road. Need brakes? Oil change? AC not blowing cold? Well, how about a super affordable $36 oil change? Affordable brake jobs, AC checks before summer hits, alignments for all these construction roads, and even free check engine light inspections. Locally owned, community driven. G&H Tires and Service on Beach Boulevard.
Homeowners, you taking a look at your lawn yet? Let me guess, you're looking at your lawn wondering what to do after a historically cold season. Well, if you want your lawn to bounce back quick, you gotta call topdressing.com. Nobody else can do what they do. Their proprietary process. I've never seen anything like it, and neither will your neighbors. They will have your lawn looking like a golf course. Nobody else can do it. They're no secret now, so get ahead of it. Call for a free estimate. Be the envy of your neighbors. Top dress your lawn like the pros with topdressing.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still, present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker, After Dark, on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock, Jacksonville, as we do every night here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Free agency will start winding down a little bit. Obviously, it's been hot and heavy for the last couple of days. There will still be some signings here and there, but a lot of the hay is in the barn, and a lot of attention now will soon turn towards the NFL draft. April 23rd, 24th, and 25th in Pittsburgh. The Jaguars currently with 11 picks total, including 5 picks in the top 124. And when you think, well, that's an odd number. Well, the only reason I point that out is, I mean, how many teams are there in the NFL? There's 32, right? So if you do my Wolfson math on that, 32 times 5, you're almost to 160. The Jaguars have 5 in the top 124. So they don't have a first rounder, but what they do have is 5 pretty decent picks. I mean, when you're selecting 5 times in the top 125, that's hard to complain about. Number 56, 81, 88, 100, and 124. Some unfortunate news today. Caleb Banks, and you hate this for him. I saw this and I was like, oh no. He apparently broke a bone in his foot at the combine or broke his foot at the combine. And the rumor is now the Florida defensive lineman won't really be able to do very much until June or July, 3 or 4 months from now. Well, obviously, the draft is next month. So the question is, Caleb Banks, who had injury problems at Florida, right? Although I give Caleb Banks an enormous amount of credit for coming back and playing the final 2 games last season with the Gators. He in no way, shape, or form needed to do that. He chose to do that, and good on him. That, I think, to me, shows the type of young man that Caleb Banks is to come back for his team. And by all indications, he had dominated at the Senior Bowl. He had a good combine. But now this injury, how many teams will it scare off? Again, you start talking about a foot with a 300-plus pound defensive lineman, he's probably going to fall a little bit. Now, it's not an Achilles or an ACL. Again, reportedly, he should be good to go by the start of training camp. But I would think it's going to scare teams off a little bit. Here's my question, Jaguar fans. Does it scare enough teams off to where Caleb Banks gets to 56? Or at least gets to the 40 to 45 range, where if you're James Gladstone, do you contemplate making a move up for Caleb Banks? You have a need in the middle of that defensive line. There's no question about that. And Caleb Banks is arguably one of the best interior defensive linemen in this year's draft class. So just something to think about. Unfortunate news right now that Banks, a broken foot, apparently at the combine, is going to be out 3 or 4 months. How much will that affect his draft stock next month in Pittsburgh? Kyler Murray wasn't out of work long. The former Arizona Cardinal quarterback signs on the dotted line today with the Minnesota Vikings. And one would think that Kyler Murray is going to Minnesota with the intention to start. What an odd situation in Minnesota. They draft J.J. McCarthy in the first round, bring in Sam Darnold when McCarthy gets hurt, right, in 2024. Darnold wins 14 games for Minnesota. That's 14. They let Darnold walk because they got a first-round quarterback that's now healthy and ready to go. All Darnold does is go out there and win a Super Bowl in Seattle. McCarthy struggles first year as a starter in Minnesota to the point where the Vikings now go out and bring in Kyler Murray. Talk about fumbling a situation if you're the Vikings, which is maybe why their general manager that decided to do all this is no longer employed in Minneapolis. Other news today around the National Football League. How about this for a reunion? Aaron, you're a Rams fan. You go out to the NFC West. Dre Greenlaw returns to San Francisco. Now, we all remember the last time we saw Dre Greenlaw in a 49er uniform, I believe it was the last time, was when his Achilles went in the Super Bowl. I don't know if he actually came back the following season. Last year, he was in Denver, did not do very much. Comes back to San Francisco. Again, you're kind of seeing a lot of that. Greenlaw returns to San Francisco. Kevin Byard returns to his old coach and Mike Vrabel in New England. You see more and more of that, guys wanting to end their careers with some familiarity. And obviously, that was probably what Dre Greenlaw was thinking going back to the 49ers. We'll see. Interesting stuff, though, with Dre Greenlaw.
Makes sense that they brought him back in, and I'm sure he wanted to go back there.
And San Francisco has been pretty active in free agency. A lot of teams have been pretty active in free agency outside of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the former Florida Gator, has a new home with the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo doing something very un-Buffalo this offseason. They're signing a lot of guys as well. They brought in a ton of talent, including today bringing in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Jonathan Allen, the former first-round defensive lineman who spent last year in Minnesota. He quickly found a new home. He is heading to the AFC North, signing on the dotted line today with the Cincinnati Bengals. More NFL news coming up. But next, let's get back into the world of college hoops. We got Selection Sunday coming up on Sunday. We got Florida, Kentucky in the SEC tournament tomorrow. We got a lot to discuss. Mike DeCourcy, Sporting News, has done it for years. Love talking college hoops with Mike DeCourcy. He joins me next on a Thursday night in the city of Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us on Hacker After Dark.
I'm dancing. Let's go. Gotta love this, don't you?
I like this kind of party. I love you, man. You can't do this when something wrong with you. Best feeling in the world.
Celebrate sports and life with 1010XL.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees, about $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 14th.
I insist on complete honesty.
You can chime in anytime on the 1010XL text line.
Installed by Lifetime Flooring.
If you have something to say to me, I wish you would just say it.
Share your opinion.
Are you nuts? What?
641-1010.
It's crazy.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal.
Stand back, Jason. I'm gonna
Sneeze? Yeah, I saw that coming.
It's all this spring pollen, Jason. It's outside and it's inside my house, and I just can't stop. I can't stop.
Sneezing? Okay, let me help you with that.
How can you help?
At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we can improve your indoor air quality with air purifiers, UV lights, and filtration systems. Every new system we install includes high-efficiency 4-inch filters that work better and last longer, even if you forget to change them.
Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing.
Life can get pretty dusty sometimes. If you spend all day, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
What's happening, beautiful people? E.T. here. Let me tell you about a little something that's happening right here in my side of town in Fleming Island. Encore Research Group is advancing the future of medicine through clinical research studies focused on weight loss, diabetes, hypertension, and more. Their team of multi-specialty doctors are proudly serving folks in Fleming Island, Green Coast Springs, and Middleburg. If you ever wondered whether a research study might be right for you, find out at EncoreDocs.com to see if you qualify. Encore Research Group. The future of medicine starts here.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Conference tournament week is underway, of course, for the Florida Gators. That means they won't play until Friday. They have a double bye. They will see either LSU, Missouri, or Kentucky Friday afternoon. And, of course, you'll hear that game right here on 1010XL. And that'll all lead up to Sunday with Selection Sunday, as we will find out the field of 68. Let's talk Florida, let's talk SEC, and let's talk big picture as Selection Sunday approaches with Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News. The man has done a terrific job covering college basketball for years, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Mike, how we doing?
I'm doing very well, Ryan. How are you?
Hey, Mike, we're good. Thank you so much for the time. All right, I'm old enough to remember, Mike, the Gators at 5-4, and then again 9-5, and losing to Missouri to be 0-1 in the conference. And good grief, since that moment, they've won 16 out of 17, including 11 in a row. How did Florida turn this thing around?
Well, I think it really just comes down to adjustment. Xavier Lee in particular, adjusting to the level that he would be playing on a regular basis. He played in the Ivy League, and the Ivy is not the level of competition that the SEC is. And I realized that he didn't immediately enter the SEC. And if Florida had chosen to, they could have gone through the pre-conference, the pre-conference part of the season, saying, okay, we'll play some Campbells and some Stephen F. Austins, and like they're good teams, and they'll get you ready, and you can adjust, and then we'll dip in maybe. But no, they went right out and played Arizona game 1. They didn't have any adjustment period. He's basically played his entire year, with very few exceptions, against SEC level or SEC adjacent competition. And that was a huge jump. And it took a little time for him to get comfortable with that. But once he got comfortable, he became a terrific SEC player. And once he became a terrific SEC player, well, they already had not just a good SEC front court, but a national championship front court with Houck and Condon and Chinaloo and Hanloden. They had all those guys back. And to their credit, I mean, Houck had to make a significant position adjustment, and he had to adjust to being a starter, and he conquered both of those spectacularly. Chinaloo, it went from being a guy who did his job, took up space, made sure the lane wasn't clean so that it was easy for teams to get in. And he was really he was a limited player as a year ago as a national champion, but now he's a star. I mean, he's one of the best defensive players in the country. He was certainly a factor on defense last year, but now he's dominant on the boards, and he's been named the SEC Defensive Player of the Year and has a great chance of being National Defensive Player of the Year. Very few players that will be in consideration along with Ruben. So all of that, and I shouldn't leave out Alex Condon, who got to March last year and really struggled for a lot of the time. He made some key plays in games, including at the Final Four stage. He made some key plays, but he wasn't comfortable on that stage. And now he's older, stronger, more assertive, and again, just the word dominant comes up a lot with a lot of these guys, and that's why they're so good.
Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News. To expand on your thought on Xavier Lee, I'd lump, Boogie Flan, Isaiah Brown, Urban Klabsar, the entire backcourt. I mean, look, they were replacing 3 NBA guys in Clayton, Richard, and Martin. Aberdeen goes to Kentucky, so you're replacing your top 4 guards. And there was a lot of expectations on them, Mike. I mean, particularly Lee and Flan in the land of NIL. People knew what they were making to come to Gainesville. You're replacing an all-timer in Walter Clayton and some really good ones in Richard and Martin. And I just think the pressure was getting to them as well. And to Todd Golden and the coaching staff's credit, at some point they were able to get that pressure off of the guards. They started playing their game. And I got to tell you, if the guards continue to play like this, I'm not sure who's beating Florida.
Well, there certainly is a very short list of teams that could do it. I don't have any doubt that we'll see Florida in the Sweet 16, probably in Houston. I would be fairly surprised if whoever their opponent was at that stage would be able to handle them because of the physical power. But the one element that I worry about if I'm a Gators fan, relative to winning it again, is the fact that they are not elite in 3-point shooting. It's not a strength. You look at Arizona, and they are not elite at 3-point shooting either. But they're really good at it. They just don't do it a lot. And in Florida's case, they're just not really good at it. Now, they've had some games where they've done it, and Klabsar is a very fine shooter, and Lee, his numbers are not great, but a lot of that is from what I talked about earlier, that struggle to adapt early, that has suppressed his overall numbers. If you look at it, he's had a lot of games once they got going and once they got good in that winning streak, his numbers are significantly better than his numbers for the season, but they're still not elite. And so that would be the one element of this team that I would say that if someone gets them, that would be the element that I would expect would probably be the differential.
No, I think it's a great point. They can't rely on a guy bailing them out like Walter Clayton bailed him out of a couple of games in the tournament last year. Thomas Houck as well. Their shooting really came on, and they're going to have to continue. I mean, I think they're upwards of 35, 36% as of late. That certainly needs to continue. Mike, I don't know how much of a difference there is between a 1 and 2 seed, quite frankly. I mean, yeah, you play an 8 or a 9 instead of a 7 or a 10. I mean, I get that, but odds are Florida and UConn, whoever's 1, whoever's 2, are going to see each other in the Elite 8 regardless. But having said that, it is a prestige thing, right? It is an ego thing to have that 1 next to your name on Sunday. I think most people have Florida as a 1 right now. I'm curious, do you have them as a 1 right now, and what do they need to do to cement that in Nashville this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, I do have them as a 1, and when I look at it with UConn taking the losses they've taken lately, I don't know what the quads are for the Creighton home. I know it's a Creighton home losses outside the top 2 quads. I'm not sure whether the Marquette road loss was outside the top 2 quadrants, but they are a sub 500 team, and that's 2 sub 500 losses for UConn in the last 2.5 weeks of the season. And you're competing not for a spot in the field, but for a spot on the very top line of the bracket. So honestly, I believe that if the Gators are in the semifinals of the Big East of the SEC tournament, that it's going to be very hard for UConn to dislodge them off the 1 line. If UConn goes and wins the Big East tournament, then I think it might come down to a matter of performance, like if Florida were to lose, how did they lose? If Florida makes the final, I just don't see how you take them off the 1 line, unless they happened to make the final against South Carolina and lost that game. Maybe then they might do it. But I really think the Gators are in a firm position here, and I'm not convinced that it depends somewhat on how UConn plays in New York. But I'm not convinced that UConn will automatically be Florida's 2. Before the whole thing happened with Marquette on Saturday, with UConn going up there and losing, I thought that Florida and UConn looked like a 1 and a 1A, and that they absolutely then had to be positioned together. And it was pretty much geographically sound to an extent, in the sense that UConn would be the 1 as the last 1 seed, so they got to go somewhere. They got to go to the last spot available, which would be Houston, and then Florida is in the South, so then they would be a logical 2 as well as a competitively logical 2 to be there. But now that that's changed a little bit, and Florida's going to be the 1, UConn's logical spot would be DC as the number 2 to Duke. So I don't know 100% that they will both go to Houston. I thought it made sense before, but now I'm not sure that it does.
Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News, you just piqued my interest. I think most people will tell you that Florida's a lock for Tampa. I'm not breaking any news there on opening weekend.
Course. That's over. Yeah, they'll be there. You can get your hotel in the Tampa suburbs. That is going to happen.
My concern for Florida is, look, I want to avoid Houston at all costs if I'm the Gators, because I think Houston would be foaming at the mouth to play them after the national title game a year ago. Would the committee put Houston in the region where the city of Houston is hosting the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, or are there rules against that?
There are no rules against that for Houston as a 2 seed, because they are not the host university. That's Rice. So there's no rule against it. If the bracket as it stands now works out pretty well in that regard for the Gators, because of the presence of multiple Big Ten teams on the 2 line right now, which means neither of them can go to Chicago, where Michigan will be, at least on the bracket. I mean, Michigan obviously has to win the 2 games to get there, but on the bracket, that will be their region. So neither, as I have it now, Michigan State and Illinois can't go there. So then Houston would either have to go, they have to go somewhere. And if I were right that UConn went to Duke's region, then Houston would have to go to Michigan's region. There wouldn't be any choice. So it's possible that the Gators could wind up in the same spot as the Houston Cougars in Houston. But as things stand now, it seems unlikely.
Mike, as we begin to wrap up, last year chalk held for the 4 number ones made it to the Final Four. A lot of people tell you there's clear separation, right? Michigan, Duke, Arizona, Florida, and then basically everybody else. Is that how you see it, or do you think this thing might be a little more wide open than most think?
Well, I think there are a couple of factors that have to be added into that conversation, and that is, let's start with health. Last year, none of those teams, Auburn, Florida, Duke, Houston, suffered a significant injury on the path to the Final Four. They did not have to worry about that. Duke has already found out that they won't have Caleb Foster. They announced it this morning. John Shire, and the head coach, announced that Caleb has a broken foot. That was the injury that occurred in the Carolina game. No one knew exactly what the nature of it was, but he has a broken foot, and he either has had or will have surgery. And then his return would probably be, they would have to get to the Final Four for him to return. So they could conceivably not make it because they lost their starting point guard. It helps them that Caden Boozer, who will most likely inherit the spot, is actually a more proficient playmaker than Caleb is. Caleb was a converted shooting guard and did a really nice job this year and is an outstanding defender. They'll miss that, but they may make up for it a little bit on the offensive end with what Caden can bring to the playmaking element. But they'll have to conquer that in order to get there. Michigan, one of the other 1 seeds, LJ Kaysen, their backup point guard. Not a backup on almost any program in America, but he is for them. But it was a huge safety net for them when Elliot Cadeau, who is probably Michigan's least consistent starter, when he struggled, Kaysen came in, elevated the team. They were great. Now they don't have that element. So while their regular seasons for those teams all have that separation you talked about, that exists. The Gators, now that they've taken over the SEC, Michigan dominated the Big Ten, went 19-1. Arizona, I think they lost twice in the SEC. I think they lost twice in the Big 12. I think all combined. I think Duke lost once. I mean, they have had those regular seasons, but they are not quite the same teams that constructed those regular seasons. So there may be some vulnerability there, at least in a couple of instances.
Mike, we got 60 seconds. Final question. Obviously, as you know, when the bracket comes out on Sunday, it's all about filling out your bracket. Tell the good folks here in Jacksonville a team or two that you think could be this year's Cinderella, if you will.
Oh, Cinderellas are tough, man, especially when you don't have a bracket. That makes it really hard. But I think that you look at a team like UCLA that offensively is really adept. Now, it depends on where they end up in the bracket. Right now, I have them in an 8-9 game, which means they're probably not going to see the second weekend. But if they happen to slide down to a 10 or achieve their way to a 7, which is not inconceivable, then they might be a team that could do a little damage. They are offensively extraordinary, and at least they have a great defensive coach, Mick Cronin. They don't have a great defensive team, but they do have the capacity to, on occasion, execute his schemes and his approach. So they might be effective that way. TCU's coming on a little bit. Again, a team that might be in an 8-9 game, and that's a little scary, but they've been coming on. You're looking for maybe a one-round winner. Santa Clara showed last night that they can beat a team that's in the 6-7 range. Santa Clara will play in the WCC championship now against Gonzaga, but they took out St. Mary's, which had been a 6-7 type team for most of the bracket analysts through most of the season. But they took 2 out of 3 from them on balance. So a team that obviously has shown the ability to beat that level of opposition.
Mike, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the sporting news and the coverage you'll have not only this week, but as the brackets come out on Sunday.
Yeah, sportingnews.com or at TSN Mike on Twitter. We'll have bracket breakdowns for all 4 regions late Sunday night. My bracket predictions as well Sunday night will come up, as well as ranking all 68 teams, 1 to 68. We'll do that on Monday. We do that every year. And as well, we have coming up this week our awards section, our All-America team drops on Wednesday. Our coach of the year and I believe our player of the year both drop on Thursday. So there will be some interest there as well. So all of that, and I will be doing the brackets daily for Fox Sports Socials starting on Wednesday. We'll do a different bracket every day and maybe multiple on Sunday, depending on how everything goes with the various championship games, assigning who might go where. I remember a couple of years ago when Duquesne won the Atlantic 10 and having to figure out where they should be seated. And I think committee had a bigger trouble than I did because they gave Duquesne a 12 that they probably didn't deserve, but it probably fit best into what they had done. And it turned out Duquesne went out and beat BYU, even though they probably shouldn't have been in that game.
He's one of our favorites, and he's one of the best. Mike DeCourcy, he's been doing it for years. Sporting News, Fox Sports, and he'll be all over it with the bracket coverage heading in to Selection Sunday. Mike, I know you're busy, man. Thank you for the time. We'll talk soon, pal.
Thanks, Ryan.
The game's best golfers and one of the most beautiful courses in the world. Catch live Southeast Orthopedic Specialist leaderboard updates from the players, capped by Corona, Campione Law, and TopDressing.com on 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Checkmate. I'm Brendan Cecilia, founder of Checkmate Coatings.
And I'm Chester, Checkmate's mascot and brand ambassador.
Why do you even talk in these ads?
People see me on the trucks, Brendan, so they expect to hear from me as well.
But I have over a decade's experience personally installing high-quality polymer floors right here in Jacksonville.
Well, I'm a professional mascot, riding around on the side of your trucks, smiling at passers-by.
Then could you at least tell people about our 2-stage polymer application process? Give your garage the finishing touch with a gorgeous floor that's guaranteed to last?
A bit busy posing for selfies, I'm afraid.
Years of experience?
Check. Adorable mascot?
Check. The team you need to make your garage gorgeous? Checkmate!
Transforming your floors, making them great. Checkmate.
Visit checkmatecoatings.com. That's checkmatecoatings.com.
All right, Jack, so let's talk about it. Spring cleaning feels great until your drains remind you what they've been holding on to all winter. If your sink's burping, your shower's backing up, or your toilet's hesitating like it's reading a blitz, it's time to call in the pros. Call Duck Duck Rooter. During their spring drain cleaning promotion, get your drains cleaned plus a free camera inspection for just $129. Must have outside clean out, honest pricing, proven experience, no fourth quarter surprises. When you're stuck, call the Duck. That's 904-862-6769 or duckduckrooter.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah.
Work it, make it, do it. Makes us all better, faster, stronger.
Hacker, After Dark, on 1010XL.
Thank you again to Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Selection Sunday comes up this Sunday. Florida State, by the way, I want to update you on that. Boy, what a game against Duke. They had a ball in the air. They could have won it. Comes up just short. Duke, an 80-79 victory over Florida State. That means no NCAA tournament for the Seminoles, although one would expect them to probably at least get into the NIT at 18-15. Great game, but Duke gets it done by one. As far as Florida They are in Nashville tomorrow, 1 o'clock. You'll hear it right here on 1010XL, round 3 against Kentucky. Also, Patrick Young and myself will have the Gator Bites podcast tomorrow, about 10 a.m. or so, a few hours before the game tips off. That'll be on all the 1010XL social media platforms. But the Gators and Kentucky tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament. Let's talk Florida and Nashville. Let's talk big picture SEC. And let's also talk a little Gators spring football. That's right, they're 2 weeks in to spring ball down there in Gainesville with John Summerall. Let's do that with Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. Certainly one of our guys when it comes to the Florida Gators, and he joins us next on a Thursday night here in Northeast Florida. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. It's Hacker After Dark.
Jacksonville's home for Florida Gators baseball.
Spring baseball is in full swing. The Gators and Gamecocks wrestle in the swamp all weekend, Friday and Saturday night, and Sunday at 1 on 1010 AM.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental. With light sedation for cleaning, then deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, located in Bartram Park.
Get a healthy start in 2026. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to help you get healthy and stay healthy all year long. Our dedicated team is committed to providing high-quality care and trusted public health services for our community. Our mission is simple: to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Learn more about our programs and services by visiting duval.floridahealth.gov.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a warehouse operations manager.
Where are the forklifts?
Sold them. Too expensive. We're using scooters now.
So you expect us to move a 2-ton pallet on a scooter?
Just lean into it. Put your back into it, people.
This is your job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
We had one fella that got hit by lightning, but he prearranged it to try to get that money. Crazy part was, dude, he was in a damn coma. We were jealous of him, man. We're like, look at this rich motherfucker, dude. Breathing on our tax dollars over here.
From his Netflix special, Regular People, comedian Theo Vaughn's Return to the Rat Tour. 3 shows, Friday and Saturday, March 13th and 14th at Florida Theater. Get tickets now at theovaughn.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life. The best value for golf in Jacksonville remains Cimarron, totally reestablished with new tee boxes, improved fairways and greens, also a brand new restaurant with indoor and outdoor settings, and live music. Join the Wild One loyalty program online at Cimarron Golf. When's the last time you played Cimarron? Cimarron Golf Club on 210, the Wild One.
Put the ball in the net with 60 minutes of soccer talk. The Coaches Show presented by Sporting Jacks. Cole Pepper, Sporting Jacks head of soccer Mark Warburton, and Sporting Jacks women's coach Stacey Baylor. Tuesday evenings at 6 on 1010 a.m.
When your home or business deserves more than ordinary glass, you trust the experts. Capital Glass and Shower Doors has been elevating spaces for over 40 years with precision, craftsmanship, and clean, modern design. From sleek frameless shower enclosures to elegant glass railings, wine cabinets, and any custom glass that makes a statement, Capital Glass delivers unmatched quality, service, and attention to detail. Your vision, their expertise. Capital Glass and Shower Doors at capcoglass.com.
Alert! Alert!
Termite swarms are active right now in Jacksonville, and once they get inside, damage can happen fast. Termites don't knock, they silently attack the structure of your home, leaving behind costly repairs and long-term headaches. Protect what you've worked hard for with the proven protection homeowners trust. Terminix Safe, with advanced termite treatment and prevention solutions. Visit Terminix.com and schedule your free termite inspection today.
Want to show off that backyard flex? Purple Heart Pools, a veteran-owned pool company right here in Jacksonville, is offering a brand new custom pool and spa package for a flat $75,000. All in, no bait, no switch. You heard that right. Only $75,000 for a custom pool and spa. Now's the time to break ground. Game days, summer nights, and neighborhood envy included. Schedule a free consultation today at purpleheartpools.com. Purple Heart Pools, Jacksonville's veteran pool company.
Hey Jacksonville, David Garrard here. If you want a street legal golf cart that's built with quality and style, check out Dynamic Drives and Designs in Jacks Beach. They have new, used, and fully customized carts from the top brands like Atlas, Dodge, and Pilot Car. Every cart gets a complete expert inspection, so you know it's ready to hit the road. Their team can help you design the perfect custom cart that fits your style and needs. For your custom golf cart, visit dynamicdrivesdesign.com today and see your perfect ride.
Instant Keys is turning 25, a quarter century of saving the day when your keys mysteriously vanish.
Seriously, it was just in my pocket.
Or when that remote fob decides to quit working.
The dealership is such a hassle.
For 25 years, Instant Keys has been the go-to locksmith service for car keys, house keys, transponders, re-keys, and even high-tech smart locks. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. For honest, professional locksmith service, use Instant Keys.
Hicken here. Experience crystal clear vision with the Eye Associates, formerly Bowden Associates, Schneider Eye and Wellness Center, and Janet Betchkel, MD, Jacksonville's leader in advanced eye care. From routine eye exams to specialized vision care, their experienced team dedicated to improving and preserving your vision. The same care you've come to trust, now with a new name. To schedule your appointment today, call the Eye Associates, formerly Bowden Eye Associates, Schneider Eye and Wellness Center, and Janet A. Betchkel, MD, at 296-0098.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Now, the Monahan's golden moment. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach, your local family jewelers.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Obviously, there is a ton going on at the University of Florida. Spring football in full swing, and now all eyes on the basketball court turn to Nashville for the SEC tournament. Florida is the #1 seed. They get a double bye, so they won't play until Friday afternoon. Let's talk about all of it with Graham Hall of 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. Graham is certainly one of our guys when it comes to the Florida Gators, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Graham, how you doing?
Doing great. It's a fantastic time, certainly in Gainesville, and looking forward to getting up to Nashville, where this Florida team is looking to once again win the SEC tournament championship and continue to make their case for a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Graham, it's a crazy situation with Florida. It's been well documented, but you've been with this team every step of the way, so I'll ask you. They were 5-4, and then they were 9-5, 0-1 in the conference after the loss to Missouri. And even after winning a couple of games in a row, they got beat pretty handily by Auburn in Gainesville, and they were sitting at 5-2 in the conference. And you really didn't know which way the season was going to go. They've won 11 consecutive games. They've beaten the tar out of almost everybody that they've played, and they're likely to get a #1 seed now in the NCAA tournament. How did this team turn it around over the last month and a half?
Well, give a lot of credit to Florida's coaching staff. They had to obviously retool the roster, replace 3 NBA guys and Walter Clayton Jr., Will Richard, Elijah Martin, and they brought in 2 players who they were very high on, but they knew there was going to be a little bit of a learning curve for both of them. Xavier Lee comes over from the Ivy League and was going to need some time to adjust to the level of physicality in the SEC. Boogie Fland, for how highly regarded he was as a freshman, I mean, he was a freshman who didn't play his entire season at Arkansas last year. He was dealing with kind of some bumps in the road in a sense. He had the thumb injury last year in January, and then he misses some of the offseason with that sports hernia that he had to have repaired. And that backcourt just needed some time to gel. And then give Florida's coaching staff, like I said, some credit for their in-game adjustments. They had to kind of retool their offense a little bit mid-season. And the combination of those factors, the backcourt needing to gel, having to adjust in the middle of the season, did lead to a little bit of, stagnant play at times and just inefficient offense is what Florida would call it. But you look at the defense that they have played with consistently. The front court is the best in the nation, and they've been able to ride them for much of this second half of the season. As the backcourt continued to progress, you saw Florida be able to play a lot more complete performances. And then I think the elephant in the room is that Florida was just not shooting the ball well to start the first half of the season. I mean, all fans know that they were struggling from three-point land. It was absent in those losses to Duke and UConn. And this coaching staff was kind of trying to be patient and say that if they just kind of shot closer to the numbers that guys like Lee and Flan had last year, they would be a really, really good team. And now you look at them over the last 10 games, they're shooting I think around 39% from three over their last 8 or 10 games or whatever it is. They realized that if they got some shooting and they continued gelling and continued playing defense at the high rate, they were going to be really, really tough to beat. And you're seeing that come to fruition right now. So got to continue to stay hot from long range as you get into the postseason. But the strength of this team is in the front court and its defense, and that usually carries into the NCAA tournament. And it's why this coaching staff feels really good about Florida's chances of making another deep run into March and hopefully into April.
Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. Graham, go back to last year. Now, obviously, they won a national championship, so let's not jump to any conclusions. But I'm talking about entering the SEC tournament. All right, if you remember 12 months ago, and I know you do, you were with that team every step of the way as well. Could you make an argument that this year's team is playing better entering the SEC tournament than even last year's team was?
I think you could make an argument, absolutely. I think that their offense is different. They're not so reliant on having to kind of play hero ball. And I don't say that as a knock on anyone from last year's team, but let's be quite honest. I mean, Walter Clayton was just on an absolute heater last year. Will Richard and Elijah Martin were fantastic as well. But this team is better defensively than last year's team was. Their buy-in from 1 through 8 in their rotation defensively is better. Look at Urban Klavzar playing better defense. Thomas Howell continues to just impress in all facets. Alex Condon at that time last year, remember, he was dealing with the ankle injury and was a little bit limited in late February and didn't have the best March. I think, he's kind of looking for redemption after he was a little bit just too banged up to contribute at the level he was able to. He's cut down the turnovers as well. But collectively, defensively, they are playing much better defense than they were a year ago, which is the main factor that I'd point to about how this team is playing better than it was a year ago. That's the biggest factor in my mind. I know some people pause and they're saying, well, they had Elijah Martin last year. They were a great defensive team. Yeah, I mean, he was one guy, but top to bottom, this team is just playing much better defense, which I think is the biggest takeaway for me right now. Obviously, you look at the scoring performances when they're, scoring over 100 points. You sit there and say, well, it's actually their offense. Their defense is leading to offense. I mean, you look at the Kentucky game on Saturday, the fast break points, how they were able to get out in transition, the steals, what they were able to disrupt in the low post as well against the Wildcats. It's their defense that I look at and say they're playing better than they were a year ago. If they continue playing with this level of defensive intensity for 40 minutes every single night, heading into Nashville and then into the NCAA tournament, they're going to be really, really tough to beat.
Final moments, Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. Graham, I want to end with a thought on spring football. Final basketball question. Look, they're locked into Tampa. They know they're going to be in the state for the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament. Obviously, a 1 next to your name on Selection Sunday is a prestige thing. I don't know, honestly, how much of a difference there is between a 1 and a 2, because odds are they're going to see UConn regardless in the Elite Eight, no matter who's the 1 and who's the 2, if they both win out in the NCAA tournament. Having said all that, they want to be a 1. And in your opinion, what do they have to do in Nashville? Do they have to win it? Do they have to get to the final? What's your thought there?
I think they have to get to the final. I think that Florida obviously would like to win it to kind of secure that thing. But, and I know the committee will push back on this. I'm not really a believer that the committee is watching games on Sunday and moving seedings around. Maybe they are, and I'm wrong. But I do think that things are probably going to be set a good bit outside of teams that are going to try and get that qualifying bid on Sunday during the tournament. I think if they make it to the final, if they win Friday and Saturday, they've locked the number 1 seed up. We'll see. I mean, I could see them going either way. The net rankings favor Florida right now, being at number 4 in the net. UConn certainly losing to Marquette, which is ranked around, 85th in KenPom. That'd be the worst loss that Florida's had. All 4 of Florida's losses, or all 6, are to teams that are ranked inside the top 50 in the net rankings. So as long as Florida doesn't avoid a devastating defeat or a defeat that they shouldn't have on their resume, if they fall to a Missouri or Kentucky, I think that if they get to Sunday's game, even if they don't win, they make a really, really strong case to be a number 1 seed. But I'll say this, I just talked a lot about Todd Golden being upset at losses in a sense. You could make a case, and I'm not saying it's good to lose the game, so I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying, but you could make a case that if Florida suffers defeat right before the NCAA tournament, that this team is going to use it as a chip on their shoulder, or even if they get the number 2 seed. If they win out and get the number 2 seed, Todd Golden is going to go into the NCAA tournament pissed off, wanting to beat every single team in front of them. You could make the case that as desirable as the number 1 seed is, this coaching staff would be absolutely fired up by getting a number 2 seed. But regardless, whether it's Florida at 1 or UConn at 2, if they're both in the same bracket, that is going to be really, really difficult. That 1 seed is not going to be able to sit there and say, okay, we have a very favorable matchup. We have a chance to get all the way to the Final Four. They're going to have their work cut out in front of them. It is a deep, deep tournament. And whoever's in that bracket between Florida and UConn is going to have to do everything they can, win a bunch of games in front of them to try and make it all the way to Indianapolis.
Graham, final question. We got about 2 minutes. Obviously, all eyes on the basketball team. Having said that, spring football enters week number 2 with John Summerall. Already some injury issues, but most of these come from last season. They're being very precautious with guys, and you certainly understand that. Is the big question this spring Aaron Philo or Tramel Jones? Is that the one that everybody's looking at for a competition there at quarterback?
I think it's probably the biggest question for Florida right now. I mean, that's the most important position on the field, and Florida has 2 guys who lack experience, quite frankly. I mean, Tramel Jones played a little bit last year in Gainesville. Aaron Philo is obviously familiar with the system. A lot of people I saw pencil in that Philo was going to win the job, just given that he comes over with Buster Faulkner, with the assistant quarterback coach, A.J. Erdely. Maybe he has the leg up on the competition, but Tramel Jones throws a really impressive ball. Both of them throw really catchable balls. I'm not trying to take a shot at anyone, but that hasn't always been the case as of late here in Gainesville. So that is probably the biggest factor. But the competition in general, the fact that there's actually quarterback competition is probably the most refreshing thing, the best storyline, you could say. Because go back to a year ago, even when DJ Lagway was a modified participant in practice, I kind of feel for those quarterbacks in a sense, who were out there. Harrison Bailey and Aiden Warner, they could take as many first-team reps as possible and thrive and be impressive. No one was usurping DJ Lagway as Florida's starter in a sense. So giving 2 quarterbacks, and not to rule out Aiden Warner or Will Griffin, but the belief is that it's between Philo and Tramel Jones. those guys actually have a chance to go out there and maximize every single rep because it could be meaningful to winning the job. And having a true quarterback competition is quite refreshing, in my opinion. That's probably the biggest storyline. And then you mentioned you got injuries to guys like Dallas Wilson, Dijon Johnson. Yeah, they're going to be, cautious with them because they're important pieces and they don't want them to risk future re-injury that could impact their availability for the season.
Graham, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. You mentioned heading to Nashville for the SEC tournament. What can people look forward to when they head on over to the website?
Yeah, a ton of content over at Swamp 247. We'll have previews, live updates, post-game reactions, features. We have the SEC Awards coming out this week, Monday and Tuesday, so look for that as well. Baseball coverage. Florida takes on the Seminoles this week as well before opening SEC play. We got recruiting content. You name it. We'll keep covering spring camp. There's been 3 practices in the books. We'll be out there Tuesday and Thursday as well. And I'll be up in Nashville for Florida's run in the SEC tournament. Looking forward to getting back up there. So a lot of content at swamp247.com. You can join us for 50% off right now. And it's always a pleasure talking with you, man. We got to do it again soon.
He's one of our guys when it comes to the Florida Gators, Graham Hall of Swamp 247. Graham, thank you as always. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Pleasure's always mine. Y'all take care out there.
And thank you to Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark, talking about the Florida Gator basketball team. Obviously, their SEC tournament begins tomorrow at 1 o'clock. You'll hear their game right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. All indications are from all the bracketology experts that they're currently a number 1 seed. They're going to Tampa regardless if they're a 1 or a 2. But a win tomorrow, certainly a win on Saturday, but most likely a win tomorrow guarantees them that final number 1 seed. Even if they don't win tomorrow, there is a world where they would be the number 1. I think ultimately they will be a 1 seed. And what an accomplishment that would be for Todd Golden and the Gator basketball team to go from 5-4 and then to even be 9-5 and 0-1 in the conference, which they were, to now sitting at 25-6, 16-2 in SEC play before their tournament play begins tomorrow, and looking at a number 1 seed for a second consecutive year. Remember last year, all 4 number 1 seeds, Houston, Florida, Auburn, Duke, all made the Final Four. Will that happen again this year? Who knows? But clearly there appears to be a thought that Michigan, Arizona, Duke, Florida, in whatever order you want to put them in, appear to be the 4 best teams in the nation as we enter the NCAA tournament and, of course, Selection Sunday, which comes up this Sunday. So thank you to Graham Hall of 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. Likewise, Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News. Speaking of bracketologists, Mike DeCourcy's been doing it a long time, and we certainly appreciate Mike taking time out for us tonight to talk Florida and look around the country a little bit as Selection Sunday approaches. Also, Scott Jackson, 94.1 up in Virginia Beach. He's also a part of the Commanders Radio Network as we did a deep dive into Chris Rodriguez, the brand new Jaguar running back who the Jaguars signed from the Washington Commanders yesterday. Scott is my guy when it comes to the Commanders, and appreciate his time with us tonight to give us a little information on the Jaguar newest tailback in running back Chris Rodriguez. Well, that will just about do it, man. Very, very busy Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Again, a reminder, you'll hear Florida and SEC tournament play tomorrow here at 1 o'clock. And before that game tips off, right about 10 a.m. or so tomorrow morning, Patrick Young and myself will have the Gator Bites podcast on all the 1010XL social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, as we'll do a preview of Florida's matchup tomorrow and a look ahead to not only the SEC tournament, but what Selection Sunday might hold for the Gators. So we do hope you join us for the Gator Bites podcast tomorrow. We should get underway around 10 a.m. or so on all the 1010XL social media platforms. Aaron Williams was your producer tonight. Aaron, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have a terrific remainder of your Thursday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night to close out the week on a Friday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.